You're listening to Empire by Design, episode 68.
Hey, I'm Katie White, coach, consultant, transformation facilitator, action taker, empire builder, and this is Empire by Design. In this show, we're building empires, we're sharing stories, and we're getting up close and personal on the strategies that make an empire in today's online world. Get all the show notes, past episodes and more at katiewyatt.me. For now, settle in for the ride. Hey y'all, Happy New Year, happy 2017. It is summer here in Australia. I'm in Perth where there is beautiful, beautiful warm weather. And so I'm bringing you a summer series on the podcast, and I want to answer the question that I know burns in many of your minds. Should I start a podcast? This is for you if you're interested in how entrepreneurs can grow their business with podcasting. It's for you if you're thinking about podcasting and you want inspiration to get started. And it's for you if you're already podcasting or creating any kind of content, because you'll get inspiration, ideas and advice that you can apply in your podcast and your business right now that will pay off forever. But this isn't just me preaching to you about podcasting, because that would be #boring. It isn't me bringing on experts to tell you how fabulous podcasting is for their multi-million-dollar businesses. In this series, you will meet an entrepreneur who is just like you. Anna Chisholm is a health coach and one of my PodWell clients. She's a mum, a passionate plant-based foodie, a fitness fanatic, and now she is a podcaster who is behind the show Big Impact. Anna and I met online quite a while ago now, and when she decided that she wanted to start podcasting, she did my course and launched her podcast. Over the next 5 weeks, you will hear me interview Anna as she is doing the course and starting to conceptualize, plan and strategize, as well as launch her show. We follow Anna's podcasting journey from go to whoa, so you will hear in real time the challenges she faces on the journey. And I wanted this to be a conversation with a real client because I want you to be able to relate to it. I think it's really almost we do a disservice to ourselves when we look at podcasts like Amy Porterfield or John Lee Dumas and we think, well, can I have that sort of business if I start a podcast? And the fact is, people like that have, through design, fortune, all of these different things, they have built a business off a podcast, or they had a massive business before they started podcasting. And I know that many of you are in your first year or two of business. You don't necessarily have thousands and thousands of people on your list, but you'd like to get there one day. And so I want to show you how a podcasting is a tool that can help you turn your tiny business into an empire. So sit back, relax, enjoy the summer and enjoy the Should I Start a Podcast series from Empire by Design. This summer series is brought to you by PodWell, the course that helps entrepreneurs like you gain more attention, more audience, authority and advocates with a podcast. You can read all about it and sign up at www.podcastempires.com/join PodWell.
Hello, Anna Chisholm. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Katie White. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be on your podcast. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. And we're really going to dive in and start talking about your podcast development journey, because you have a podcast in the works and you've offered yourself up to share that story as you go, which is ultra cool. And I really appreciate it. And I think it'll be hugely interesting and useful for others that are thinking about podcasting.
Yeah, I hope so. I definitely hope so. This should be fun.
Yeah, that's it. We'll have fun. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business before we jump into the podcast?
Absolutely. So my business is primarily a service-based business, and it's a health coaching business. So I mainly work one-on-one with mums. Well, I usually start with mums and work with the whole family, I guess, by the end of it. So I'm a plant-based health coach, and I work with women, I guess, to adopt a more healthy way of eating and a healthy way of living in general. So we start with the nutrition and with the movement or the exercise. A lot of mums who've just had their kids, or their kids are primary school age and they want to really get back into exercise and nutrition in a big way and looking after themselves. So we start with those two things, but it's a very holistic business. So we then go further and look at career, relationships and spirituality, and I guess try and find where the imbalances lie in terms of those things in their health, and try and smooth out some of those imbalances and really create a life that they're passionate about living, I guess, and that they're really enjoying. So yes, that's the essence of it.
Beautiful. And then what made you decide that a podcast was going to be a good addition to your business?
Yeah, good question. I think I've been kind of sitting on the idea for a while of a podcast. It's definitely the way that I am consuming my information, education, entertainment, all those sorts of things now in a big way. And I think that my target market or my niche or my people are similar in that sense, and starting to get on the podcast more, especially busy mums. They're listening to the podcast on the way to and from school pickup, or to and from the gym, even at the gym. It's just a more accessible way, I think, for the people that I'm coaching or that are interested in the message that I'm sharing to access their information. And also, I think it's the right time in my business to, I guess, strengthen my authority in the health and wellness field, become a little bit more well-known, especially in the plant-based arena. And yeah, just I guess as well, that conversation and that connection with people who inspire me, and creating that space in my business for me to be able to talk with those people that inspire me. I think that's such a cool part of any business, and part of one that I want to create. So yeah, that's probably where I'm coming from.
And I love, there's a couple of things there that you said that I just want to pull out that I love. So firstly, it's that you enjoy consuming content in this way. And I think that's really important. I'm exactly the same. And I have had people come to me saying, I want to start a podcast, never listened to one. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't create one and can't create a brilliant one. It's just, I think, if you are already someone that consumes podcasts, then you're going to understand the mindset of a podcast consumer, and you'll be listening to different types of podcasts. You'll have an experience of different formats, all of that stuff. So I think that's really cool. And the second really important part of that is that you know that that's where your ideal target market, where your ideal listener is also consuming content, because obviously it's no point creating content on a platform if your target market's not over there. So really, really good. And I love that about strengthening your brand authority, which really comes down to strategy. And you're doing my course PodWell, and that's exactly where I start in that course, is thinking about how it relates to your business strategy. So I love that you've thought that through. So tell us about the concept behind the podcast. What's it going to be?
Sure. So we're still in the early stages, but look, I think the concept, so the name of the podcast is called Big Impact, and the tagline is Better Health with Anna Chisholm. So it is about big impact, and those people who are making a big impact in the health and wellness space, and also those that have made a big impact on me and my journey in terms of where I'm at with my health and where I'm going. So it's about interviewing. It's going to be interview based, and it's going to be interviewing people who are really inspiring and making their mark in some big way on the health space. And, my background is plant-based health, and that's what I'm really interested in. And it won't necessarily be all plant-based, but I guess those are the people who really inspire me and who I think are, I guess, the forefront of information education around health. So also, I guess, what I'm thinking at the moment is that every 3 or 4 episodes will be a break from that and will be an interview with a family, a real life family, who are either already living a plant-based lifestyle or who are on their journey to get there. And the purpose behind that, I guess, is to look at practical ways and real life kind of tips and hacks, I guess, that people can adopt and use if they're really interested in this lifestyle. So if they're inspired by the people who are making a big impact and learning this information and getting more excited about this, then every few episodes are going to give them an opportunity to see how they can implement this in a real life sense in their own family. So that's the plan.
I love that idea. And, I think it speaks directly to your target market because from what I know of the people that you work with, they might not come to you as plant-based people, but it's often something that they will end up trying whilst they're working with you. So I guess the first question that I had in my mind was, there's nothing about plant-based in the title of the podcast, but you've explained that. And I think that is actually good because if it was in the title of the podcast, it might put people off who think, it's just about going vegetarian or something. Yeah. I'm not there yet. The only question I have about the title, though, is there's nothing in there that tells me really what this is about beyond impact. And impact can mean anything. It could be impact in the social sphere, like social enterprise, charity work, that kind of, you could actually interpret impact as meaning lots of different things. So I just wonder if there's something you could pop. What was the tagline again?
Better health with anarchism.
Okay.
So it's big impact, better health.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess, Katie, for me, what I love about the, not generic, but about the, I can't think of the word, I guess about the title is that it does leave it open to the imagination a little bit. So I didn't want to limit myself just to one sort of impact, if that makes sense. Yeah. Obviously, I'm still getting my head around it, but that's the best way I can explain it so far.
Yeah, no, and I like that. I do like that because, it's there in the tagline, so that's good. Because I think if you didn't have something in there, it could just be too broad. And a podcast is often at the top of our marketing funnel because it's the thing that goes broader to capture the attention of people who are, potentially interested in what you do. So you want to capture a broader audience than everyone that's going to, not everyone that listens is going to end up working with you. So it's good to go broad, but it's not good to go so broad that it doesn't speak to anything that you're interested in. So I think that's good. And you've clearly thought about it, which is fantastic. And I really love that idea of talking to a family because that is ultimately the type of work you do.
Yes.
And I've noticed, there's a podcast I'm really loving at the moment, and it's a business coach, so somebody that does similar work to what I do, and she's releasing some live coaching calls where she's coaching somebody and recording that. And it's kind of a similar thing, but in her arena, so business coaching. And
that's so cool.
It's really cool. And what I found in listening to it, it's both educational for me as a coach, so someone that does that type of work. It's also fun for me as an entrepreneur because I get, we all get insights from hearing somebody else coached.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is it's actually making me interested in working with her because I'm seeing exactly what's behind the curtain. I'm seeing how she does it.
That's really cool.
It is cool. And what I would suggest you, when you're thinking about how you structure those episodes, is really think about how you can bring, as well as sharing their journey and experience, think about how you can also show your own coaching style within that, because that's exactly, can work in the same way. Somebody else that's interested in going on that journey can think, oh, I really like the way that Anna does that, and potentially Anna's the right person for me to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you for that little tip. That's great.
No worries. Oh, awesome. And so how far off do you think? You have only been doing PodWell for a couple of weeks, and I know that you've been building up to it for a while though, and really thinking long and hard about your podcast. So you've really hit the ground running. But how far off launch do you feel like you are?
Oh, that's such a good question. As you know, Team Chirs is doing this together, which
Team Chirs,
my husband Ben and
I love it. Hashtag Team Chirs.
Oh my goodness. Which is making it a little bit slower because I have to fit in with my husband's schedule. But look, it's been really good doing it together because he's got the tech brain side of things. So I'm really enjoying watching your videos and then kind of pausing it and talking it through with someone as I'm going. So either getting clear on some tech things that I don't understand or writing some notes together if, we get inspired by different ideas. So I think we're just up to module 3 this week. So hopefully in the next 5 or 6 weeks, I will have a podcast launched into the world, but we'll see.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. So we are going to record a couple of episodes on Anna's journey. And I think, we'll definitely get into the launch plan when it gets closer. But are you having any particular challenges come up so far, or any questions in your mind that you feel like need to be resolved before you can move forward? Like, where are you at right now?
That's a good question. The main struggle I've had to date is the artistic side of things. But look, I have not let that stop me from moving forward. So it's still in the works. I'm talking about cover art.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. But as you say throughout PodWell, which has been really amazing for me, is to say, just don't stop it from letting you move forward. Like, work on it, take it seriously, but it's like the tech side of things, or the music, or even the recording, or having the best microphone or whatever. It's like, look, these are the things to look into, and this is what's best, and these are your options, but don't stop it. Don't let it stop you from moving forward. So that's the mindset I'm taking at the moment. So cover art has been, struggle, but I'm getting there and I'm still moving forward.
Excellent. And it's such a common thing that stops people. The cover art stops people. And the other big thing is the name of the podcast. So you're lucky because you've got yours. And when I started mine, I almost started with the name. I knew what my name was before I launched. So it was never an issue for me. But I have seen people, because they think, well, I can't record anything because I can't say the name of my podcast.
Yeah.
But there's even ways around that. So you can just say, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, exactly.
And so have you done any recording?
Look, I've just downloaded the software, the Dropbox on my phone and Audacity on the computer and things. So I'm just playing around with that now. I have just done one little recorded intro just to hear my own voice back. But apart from that, I think that's what this week will be about, recording an intro. I've got some intro music that I'm happy with now. So I think recording kind of intros and outros just to get a good feel of what I want it to sound like, and then I can start focusing on the actual interviews. That's sort of where I'm at right now.
Excellent. And have you got a bit of a hit list of people you want to interview? Have you reached out to anyone yet?
I do. I've got a list. I've got my, as you always say, it's like your right now list, your achievable list, and then like your big list, like these are my dream kind of guests.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm just in the process of, there's just so many gems in your course, like even the template of how to reach out to someone, I'm just finding so helpful. All those really practical little things that you could just get so stuck on yourself without some really simple practical guidance. So that's been what I've been looking at today, and just kind of going through my wish list and going, okay, this is how I could potentially reach out to them, and what are the sorts of things I need to say in my guest pitch email. And yeah, so I'm having lots of fun with that.
Beautiful. And something to think about, and this might come closer to launch, but it's worth thinking about now, because sometimes these things take a little while in the leading up to, but is thinking about getting yourself onto other people's podcasts. And it might be, it might feel like you want to do that later, but it is a really good way, because if somebody hears you on a podcast, they're already listening to podcasts, so they're much more likely to come over and check yours out. So it can be a really good part of the overall launch and audience growth strategy. So start, as well as having your hot list of guests you want, have a little hot list of podcasts you think you might want to be interviewed on.
Fantastic idea. Yeah.
And another thing
really cool.
you can do, if you find some podcasts that are, of people that are doing similar things to you, often that can turn into a swap. So I'll interview you on my podcast, and then, you'll interview me on your podcast. So I've done that, I think once, and I will probably do it again. And that's another nice thing to do.
Awesome. I will definitely do that. Cool.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So what's the plan for the week ahead on your podcast, Anna? What are you going to do to move it forward?
I am going to record my intro, I think, with my music and get that all set. I'm going to do some really practical little things like putting rugs down where I'm going to record to make the sound a little better. And I have a wish list, or not a wish list, but on my to-do list is to reach out to 2 potential guests to try and get them to hopefully agree. I've got a couple of families who have already said yes to doing the practical interview mini series. And actually, my next question for you, if you don't mind, is about, tell me if you want to direct me to when we talk about the launch phase later down the track. But I guess I was wondering how many people it's good to start with when you launch, like how many episodes it's good to have under your belt for when you...
Yeah, great question. And it is in the launch module, but it's worth mentioning now anyway. I suggest you go live in iTunes with 3 episodes, and that's fairly standard advice in the industry, because the thinking is you really want people to discover you and stay with you. And if they discover you, they listen to 1 episode and they think, oh, I like that, and they look back and there's nothing else there, then you're going to lose them. But if there's 3 episodes there, they'll listen to all 3, or they'll download all 3, and suddenly you've already got them on the hook. They're in a relationship with you. So I definitely suggest launching with 3. It's also better for your download numbers and getting up the charts as when you get into iTunes at a running start. But as well for your own process, are you planning on doing weekly or fortnightly? What's your plan?
Look, I thought for my time frame originally that I'd only do fortnightly, just because of how I run my business and how many hours I've got. But in talking with Ben, the podcasts that I love run weekly, and I'm almost like hanging out every week for them to release, which makes me think that weekly is the way to go. But look, I don't know how practical that's going to be. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I run a fortnightly podcast, though now that I have 2 fortnightly podcasts, I am pretty much releasing weekly. And
Yeah.
look, I've always been the same as you. I prefer listening to podcasts that come out weekly. Well, yeah, the ones that I really love tend to be weekly. It is better for your numbers. It's better for your position in the charts. It's better for everything. The challenge is it's harder to be consistent. And I believe before everything else that consistency is the most important thing. So if you know absolutely I can be consistent with fortnightly and I'm not sure about weekly, then I would start with fortnightly. And if it's coming easy, then increase. It's worse to go weekly and then I think drop that.
That's true. That's very true. Okay.
But another way, you could also think about, well, if I'm going to do it weekly, how can I really manage this? And it might be if you're going, I need 3 episodes to go live with, and then I want at least a month or 2 months of episodes recorded before I go live so that I've bought myself 8 weeks live in the charts, that I know it's going out weekly and consistently. And then you can start thinking about, well, how's this going to work in my business? If I need to create 4 episodes for each month, maybe I set aside 1 day. I mean, it might be hard if you're doing interviews with people who are, that you look up to in the industry, because you're going to want to work around their calendar, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are different things you can do. Like, I've never found it overly difficult to stay consistent with fortnightly, and I've had, a full-time job and babies and all of those things. But look, it's up to you at the end of the day, but I really want you to go in being confidently consistent. So if that's fortnightly, then start with fortnightly.
Okay. Awesome. That's great advice. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Awesome. I'm really excited.
Oh, I am too. And it's so great to talk to you in this phase. And, I know what's ahead, and I know how much fun you're having, and doing it as well with your husband by your side is a really, really lovely, I assume it's lovely bonding experience, but, that may all change.
Yes, maybe ask us at week 8 and we'll see whether we're still enjoying it as much.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you, Anna, and we will check back with you in a couple of weeks.
Beautiful. Thanks so much.
Are you a podcaster who has been podcasting for a few months, you're over the tech hurdle, you've cleared the starting hurdle, and now you're kind of wondering, what next? How do I ensure my podcast craft is developing? How do I connect more with my audience and create a community around my brand? How do I connect with more influencers and develop lasting relationships with them? Well, my dear, Podcast Empire is the membership community for you. For $37 a month or $370 a year, you will get access to me and an intimate tribe of podcasting entrepreneurs. You'll get sharp strategy, laser-focused customer targeting, and epic brand building through the platform of your podcast. We do this through accountability with monthly goal setting, highly practical and tiny bite-sized trainings. We just looked at podcast rebrands and solo formats, and hot seat reviews of member podcasts. To see more and join, go to www.podcastempires.com. Join the empire.
Much, Katie.
At the end of each part of the summer series, I'm going to share with you a tip for the newbie, so somebody that's planning to launch their podcast, and a tip for the more experienced podcaster. So my tip for part 1 of the summer series is for the newbie is connect with your ideal client. Are podcasts something that fit into their lives? One client of mine found that her clients or her target market were actually reading the transcripts of her podcast, but not actually listening to the show. That's a really, really important point. Why would you go to the effort of creating this show if everyone's just reading the transcripts? You would stick with blogging. Anna talked about busy mums spending a lot of time in the car, and so this is why it fits for her market. The next key takeaway is about how a podcast will fit into your business model. Anna talked about providing information to her target market as well as raising her own profile as a leader and connecting with influencers. What I think we'll discover later in the series is how much one of these three purposes in particular really came to the fore once Anna got started with her podcast. And this is the thing, your purpose will evolve, but I believe it's important to at least consider what you want the podcast to do for you. Is it providing accessible training to people who can't afford you, or is it something else? Make sure that you have at least some idea before you start of what that is, and then you'll get more clarity once you have begun. And for the more advanced, more experienced podcaster, I want you to think about, this also applies for newbies, but the strategy of using live coaching calls or bringing clients onto your podcast, I believe is a highly beneficial strategy for a service-based business. My podcast coach, Natalie Ekdahl from BizChicks Podcast, does this, and those episodes are my favourite of everything she does, and they're the reason that I became a might purchase to a confident purchaser of her products. So I want you to think about that, and we'll see you in part 2 of the Should I Start a Podcast Summer Series next week.
Hey, we've loved contributing to your empire building today. Please share us with a fellow empire builder so that we can help them too. Thank you to Luke at The Wellness Pro for production and editing, the Virtually Holistic Hub for show notes and admin support, to our guest, and to you, our most important listener. You should also check out my other podcast, Lady Boss Chats, where Elle Roberts and I chat all things Lady Boss life. You'll feel like you've just pulled up a cozy armchair with your biz bestie. Find us in your favourite podcast app or at theladybossproject.com.